Shalom, my friend. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some families seem to be touched by financial blessing for generation after generation, while others, no matter how hard they work, keep slipping further behind? I'm going to share something with you today that I believe you were meant to hear at this exact moment in your life. Hidden in the ancient teachings of the Jewish mystics, there are three specific numbers, three sacred figures that have been used quietly for thousands of years to open the channels of abundance in a person's life. And when these numbers are written on the inside of your wallet in the precise way I'm about to walk you through, something extraordinary tends to begin shifting in your finances within the very first day. I have spent more than 4 decades of my life buried in the ancient texts of the Talmud, the Zohar, and the deeper writings of Kabbalah. My grandfather was a rabbi who studied in the narrow, sun-bleached streets of the old city of Jerusalem, and his grandfather before him carried this wisdom on his back as he walked across borders during some of the most heartbreaking chapters of European history. 7 generations of the men in my family have whispered these teachings to their sons, often in candlelight, often in fear, always with reverence. And what I am about to lay open for you today is not something you will find on the shelf of any bookstore, not in any university lecture, not in any popular spiritual book that crowds the shelves of modern stores. This is living, working, mystical knowledge, and I have watched it transform lives in front of my own eyes more times than I can count. Now, here is what I want you to consider for a moment. Just this past week, I have been reading about how the global economy is once again trembling. Banks are pulling back. Lending is becoming tighter. Inflation is quietly devouring the savings of ordinary families. Prices keep climbing while paychecks remain stuck in place. And yet, in the middle of all of this, there exists a small group of people who seem strangely untouched by any of it. Doors keep opening for them. Money keeps finding them in ways that do not always make logical sense. Opportunities arrive in their inbox while everyone else is checking their bank balance with a knot in their stomach. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is the activation of spiritual laws that the world has either forgotten or never been told about in the first place. By the time we finish today, you will know exactly which 3 numbers to write, exactly where they belong inside your wallet, and the exact Hebrew words that seal the entire ritual into place. The deepest secret I am going to share toward the very end is something I held back from teaching publicly for many years. But the season we are living through demands that this wisdom finally be released into the open. Let me carry you back to the moment I first encountered this teaching with my own eyes. I was 17 years old, sitting in the small apartment my grandfather kept in the old city. The walls were lined with old books that smelled of leather and dust and centuries of careful hands. It was a Thursday evening, the sky already turning that quiet purple that means Shabbat is coming. My grandfather called me over to his worn wooden writing desk, the one his own father had carried with him through wars and exiles. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a soft, dark leather wallet that had belonged to his grandfather before him. He looked at me with those eyes of his, eyes that always seemed to see straight through whatever you were trying to hide, and he said something to me that I have carried in my chest every single day since. He said, "The world you can touch is only the shadow of the world you cannot. And when you learn how to write the language of the higher world onto the objects of this lower one, you gain the quiet authority to reshape your material life." Then he opened that ancient wallet, and there on the inside were 3 numbers, each written in a particular way, in a particular order. He explained to me that these were not ordinary numbers. The Kabbalists call them channels of divine flow. Each one corresponds to a specific spiritual current, a specific frequency of blessing, and when you bring the 3 together in the proper sequence, you create what the old masters call a portal of provision. I cannot tell you that I understood it fully at the time. I was a young man with the impatience of all young men, but I watched my grandfather's life with my own eyes. He had been driven from his home more than once. He had lost everything he owned more than once. He had arrived in Jerusalem with little more than the clothes on his shoulders, and yet through all of it, he never lacked. Money always found him. Help always arrived. Opportunities appeared as if someone unseen was holding open the doors, and that little leather wallet with those 3 numbers inside was always tucked in his pocket every single day of his life. The first time I gathered the courage to use this knowledge for myself, I was 23 years old. I had just been married. We had almost nothing in our small apartment. The cabinets were nearly bare. I remember lying flat on my back at night, staring up at the cracked ceiling, my new wife asleep beside me, asking myself how I was going to provide for the family I had just promised to build. Every job I tried to step into seemed to slip away at the last moment. Every door looked closed. And then, in one of those nights, my grandfather's voice came back to me as clearly as if he were sitting on the edge of the bed. The next morning I bought a simple wallet, nothing impressive, just plain leather. I sat down with the focus he had taught me and I wrote the 3 numbers exactly the way he had shown me all those years before. I spoke the Hebrew blessing he had placed in my heart. I slipped a small amount of money inside, what the Talmud calls the seed of blessing, because abundance does not multiply over emptiness. Within 48 hours my phone rang. It was a man I had not spoken to in years, calling out of nowhere with a business proposal that seemed to drop from the sky. Within a week, more money had come into our home than had passed through it in months. Within 30 days, the entire shape of our financial life had changed. That was the moment I knew, beyond any doubt, that this was not folklore. This was not superstition wrapped in old language. This was real, working spiritual technology that our ancestors had paid in tears to preserve for us. If something inside you is already stirring as you listen, I want you to do something for me right now before we continue. Type into the comments, "I activate my abundance code." I read every comment that comes through, and there is something quietly powerful about making that declaration in front of others. Do it before you keep watching, because the moment you make the declaration is the moment heaven begins to take notice. Now let me speak to where you actually are. I know what your life looks like. I know that you wake up earlier than most people and you fall asleep later than most people, and somewhere in between you give more of yourself than anyone realizes. You have tried to do everything the right way. You have saved when you could. You have gone without things you wanted. You have probably tried positive thinking and visualization and the manifestation books that crowd the shelves these days. And yet every month, the money keeps slipping through your fingers like sand. Bills arrive faster than the income can catch up. Just as you feel like your head is finally above water, something pulls you back under. The car breaks. The tooth aches. The deal collapses the day before it was supposed to close. I have sat with thousands of sincere people across the decades of my teaching life, and I keep hearing the same heart cry over and over again. "Rabbi, what is wrong with me? I work so hard. I try to do right by everyone. Why does it feel like there is an invisible wall between me and the life I'm reaching for?" And here is what truly grieves me. The advice most of these people have received is almost completely useless. People keep telling them to budget more carefully, to take on another job, to repeat affirmations into their bathroom mirror, to think more positively. But none of that ever touches the real root, because the real root is not in the physical world at all. The Talmud teaches that every physical reality is anchored in a spiritual reality above it. If you try to fix the physical without ever addressing the spiritual, you are pushing against the current of the universe itself. You may make a little progress for a little while, but you will always be dragged back. This is why people win lotteries and lose everything within a few short years. This is why some people break their bodies working 16-hour days and still cannot get ahead, while others appear to attract wealth as if it were drawn to them by a magnet. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is not effort. The difference is not even luck. The difference is spiritual alignment. The world has told you that money is purely a physical matter, that wealth is just a math problem of earning, spending, and saving, that the universe is cold, random, and indifferent to your tears. That is a lie. And it is a lie that has kept countless souls trapped in struggle that was never meant for them. Our people understood something different. For more than 3,000 years, through every exile, every persecution, every attempt to wipe us from the earth, we have not only survived, we have often flourished. This is not because of any genetic gift. It is because we held tightly in trembling hands to the ancient knowledge of how wealth actually moves at the spiritual level. The Talmud says that a person's sustenance is as difficult to bring forth as the splitting of the sea. What that really means is that the same divine power that opened a path through the waters for our ancestors is the same power that must open the channels of provision in your life today. You will not get there by effort alone. You must engage forces that exist above the visible world. Here is the universal truth that the Kabbalists have guarded for centuries. Numbers are not lifeless symbols for counting. In the deeper teaching, numbers are living energies. Each number carries a vibration, a frequency, a specific quality of divine flow. When you understand which numbers activate abundance and you learn how to write them with the right intention, you literally create a magnet for prosperity in the visible world. The old masters knew this. They wove this knowledge into practices, into prayers, into rituals that have been passed down across the centuries. And today, I'm going to place the heart of that wisdom in your hands. Before I share the numbers themselves, I need you to understand something with absolute seriousness. This is not entertainment. This is not something to do half asleep in front of the television while your mind drifts elsewhere. When you write sacred numbers with proper intention, you are pulling on the threads of real spiritual forces. Real energy begins to move. Real results begin to follow, but only when you do every step exactly as it is given to you. This method works because it joins three principles the ancient sages discovered through centuries of careful study. The first is the principle of inscription. When you physically write something with your own hand, you transfer spiritual intention into the material world. This is why a Torah scroll must always be handwritten. The very motion of writing builds a bridge between heaven and earth. The second is the principle of the vessel. Your wallet is not merely a piece of leather, it is a container. And in the deeper teaching, containers attract and hold the energies they are prepared to receive. When you prepare your wallet with the right numbers, you are essentially programming the vessel to hold and draw wealth. The third is the principle of activation. The Hebrew blessing I will share with you is what brings everything to life. Without that activation, the numbers are only ink. With it, they become living channels. What makes this method different from anything else you may have tried is that it works at the level of cause, not effect. Most modern money techniques try to manipulate the effect, your behavior, your thoughts, your actions. This method touches the cause itself. It opens the spiritual gates that then express themselves as physical abundance. The Talmud teaches that blessing rests only on what is hidden from the eye, which is why these numbers are placed inside the wallet, never on the outside. Concealment is not optional, it is essential. Now let me describe what you will need. You need a wallet, and it does not need to be expensive or new, but it must be clean and in good condition. A torn, frayed, or damaged wallet cannot properly hold the energy of abundance. If your current wallet is falling apart at the seams, please replace it before performing this practice. The wallet stands as the vessel of your prosperity, and the vessel must be worthy of what it is being asked to carry. You will need a pen with black ink. The color matters. In the deeper teaching, black represents the hidden potential that contains every possibility within it. Blue, red, or other colors will not carry this particular work. Make sure the pen flows smoothly, without skipping. You will need 3 small pieces of clean, white, unlined paper, or if your wallet has a leather or fabric inner lining, you may write directly onto it. Cut the paper small enough that it can rest hidden inside the wallet, unseen when you open it in the normal flow of your day. You will also need a coin or a bill of any value. This is the seed I spoke of earlier. The Talmud is firm on this. Blessing does not rest on emptiness. Something must already be present for abundance to multiply through it. Even a single small coin is enough. Timing also matters. The most powerful moment to perform this practice is in the early morning, before the sun has risen. The hour just before dawn is what the mystics call the time of favor, the hour when the curtain between the upper and lower worlds is at its thinnest. If rising before sunrise is impossible for your life right now, then do it as early as you can after waking, before the noise of the day has flooded in. Now, let me bring you the 3 numbers themselves. The first is 18. In the Hebrew language, every letter carries a numerical value, and the letters that form the word for life add up to exactly 18. This is why our people traditionally give gifts in multiples of 18. But the meaning runs even deeper. 18 represents the flow of vital living energy into the physical world. When you write this number with intention, you are declaring that your finances are alive, growing, breathing, never stagnant. Write the number 18 on your first piece of paper or in the first hidden corner of your wallet. The second number is 26. This corresponds to the numerical value of the most sacred 4-letter name of the Holy One. This number connects your wallet directly to the source from which all abundance flows. The Talmud teaches that every form of sustenance ultimately comes from the divine. When you write 26, you are no longer drawing only from human sources. You are connecting straight to the infinite well from which every river of provision is fed. Write 26 on your second piece of paper or in the second hidden place. The third number is 72. This corresponds to the 72 names of the Holy One revealed in the Kabbalistic tradition. These are 72 distinct frequencies of divine energy, and the number itself carries the combined power of all of them. It represents totality, completeness, the entire spectrum of blessing. When you write 72, you are not opening a single channel, you are opening every channel at once. Write 72 on your third piece of paper or in the third hidden place. Now here is the practice itself, step by step. First, rise before the sun or as early as you can. Before you eat, before you drink, before you reach for your phone, wash your hands 3 times, alternating between right and left. This clears the lingering energies of sleep and prepares your hands to do sacred work. Second, sit down somewhere quiet where no one will interrupt you. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. With each exhale, gently release every fear and anxiety you have been carrying about money. You cannot pull abundance toward you from a place of panic. As your breath settles, allow yourself to become calm, centered, and open. Third, take your pen and your first piece of paper. Hold the pen in your right hand and quietly say, "Blessed is the one who has sanctified the letters and the numbers for the benefit of creation." Then write the number 18 slowly, with full attention, picturing golden light flowing from your hand through the pen and into the ink. Fourth, take your second piece of paper, repeat the blessing, and write 26, this time feeling the presence of the divine settle around you. Picture a column of light opening above your head, connecting you to an endless supply. Fifth, take your third piece of paper, repeat the blessing one more time, and write 72, picturing doors opening in every direction around you, opportunities multiplying, resources flowing in from places both expected and unexpected. Sixth, place all 3 papers inside the wallet in hidden places where they cannot be seen when the wallet is opened normally. If you wrote directly on the inside of the wallet, make sure your writing is concealed. Add your seed coin or bill on top of, or close to, the numbers. Seventh, hold the wallet in both hands, close to your heart. Close your eyes and quietly declare, "I am a channel of divine abundance. Provision flows to me naturally and continuously. Every block to my prosperity is now dissolved. The numbers 18, 26, and 72 are alive and active in my life. So it is, and so it shall be." Eighth, carry that wallet on your body every single day for the next 7 days and tell no one what you have done. The Talmudic teaching that blessing rests on what is hidden is critical here. If you show others, if you boast, if you explain it to a curious friend, you weaken the energy. Silence is part of the seal. Let me tell you what to expect, because I do not want you to dismiss the small signs when they begin. Within the first day, many people describe a quiet lightness that seems to come from nowhere, a mysterious shift in their mood, a softening of the financial fear they have been carrying for months. Some have vivid dreams about wealth or open spaces or flowing water. These are all signals that the channel is awakening. Within 3 to 7 days, you should begin to see something tangible, an unexpected refund, a forgotten debt being repaid, a phone call about an opportunity, an idea that simply drops into your mind, a discount or unexpected savings on something you genuinely needed. The form of the blessing always shapes itself around your actual life. Within 30 days, the deeper transformation should be unmistakable. The channel becomes established, money flows more easily, opportunities arrive more consistently, the constant low hum of financial fear is replaced by a quiet sense of being held. But I must give you 3 warnings, and you must take them seriously. First, do not perform this practice from a place of greed or panic. The Talmud teaches that the one who chases money is the very one money flees from. If you approach this from grasping, demanding energy, you will actually push abundance further away. The proper posture is openness and trust. I learned this the hard way myself during a difficult season when I tried to force the result, and the more I clenched, the worse things became. The moment I released, everything began to move again. Second, never use this for harm. If your intention is to take what belongs to someone else or to acquire wealth through deception, the very forces you call upon will turn against you. What enters through wrongdoing always leaves through wrongdoing. I have seen people misuse these tools, and without exception, it ended in suffering. This is not a threat from me. This is spiritual law. Third, do not abandon the physical level. This practice opens the spiritual gates. but you still must walk through doors in the visible world. If you perform the ritual and then sit at home waiting for the ceiling to rain coins, you will be disappointed. The blessing flows through real channels, through people, through work, through opportunities. You must remain active and ready to receive. The Talmud teaches that a person's sustenance is decreed each year, but most people misunderstand this and believe their income is fixed. The deeper meaning is that the potential is set, but how much actually reaches you depends on the channels you build. Imagine a vast reservoir, infinitely full. The amount of water that reaches your home depends entirely on the size and condition of your pipes. These three numbers are pipes: wider, cleaner, more open pipes, capable of carrying far more than the narrow ones you have been working with until now. The supply has always been infinite. The only question has ever been how much you are prepared to receive. Over 40 years of teaching, I have watched this practice rebuild lives. A teacher who could barely pay rent opened 3 thriving learning centers within a year and a half. A widowed mother who was rationing food for her children now owns her home and has savings for the first time in her life. A businessman on the edge of bankruptcy transformed his company and now gives generously to others who are starting where he once stood. In every case, they did not improvise, they did not change the numbers because they thought they knew better, they did not skip the blessing because they felt foolish, they did not parade their practice in front of others, they simply trusted and they followed. We are living through a strange and uncertain moment in history. The old paths to security are no longer reliable. People who did everything right are still struggling. But these ancient teachings work in any economy because they operate above the economy. They connect you to a source that no government, no market, and no headline can shake. When the world feels like chaos, this becomes your anchor. So tonight, prepare yourself. Tomorrow morning, before the sun lifts above the horizon, take your wallet, take your pen, take your 3 pieces of paper, and step into a tradition that has carried our people through 3,000 years of storms. If this teaching has touched something deep in you, please subscribe and stay close, because next week I will be opening the door on another sacred practice that has guarded Jewish homes for centuries. Leave a comment telling me which part of this spoke to your heart the loudest. Share this with anyone you love who is carrying the silent weight of financial fear, because sometimes the right wisdom in the right hand at the right hour rewrites an entire life. May the Holy One bless you with provision that overflows. May your home be filled with peace, your table with plenty, and your heart with the quiet certainty that you have always been seen, always been remembered, and always been provided for. Shalom.